Sometimes that is better.
Welcome to the Joy of Pain podcast, where we don't make mistakes, just bloody little accidents. I'm your host, as always, KillJoy Jake, and we have some very exciting news updates to get into today. Now, as always, I like to talk about some of the weekly stories that we were able to get into from Monday through Friday of last week, and a few of the stories that I really want to talk about again, and hopefully you'll go check out these videos because they're very much so worth your time. We have the Creep Tapes Season 3 dropping its very first trailer. Now, this is a show I'm very excited about, and I know not as many people are interested in that as some of the other topics we're talking about today, especially based on the view counts of that video versus some of the other things I put out. But what I will say is Creep Tapes, man, it's a show that I think is just getting better and better as it goes along. Season 1, I don't think any of the episodes are particularly bad. There's just some episodes that kind of feel maybe too similar to something else that came before. And I think every episode of the Creep Tapes is pretty fantastic, considering how minimalistic it is. It really just relies on Patrick Brice's direction, whoever the guest star is, and of course, most importantly, Mark Duplass playing this enigmatic character. But I think you get into season 2 and some of the setups are just a little more elaborate. They kind of feels like things you wouldn't see tackled in one of the full-length movies from this franchise. Creep Tape Season 3, once again, taking that a notch up. Because season 2 had some really cool episodes. We had one where the police catch up with the creep, and somehow he talks his way out of that as the silver-tongued devil that he is. Probably my favorite episode of the entire previous season was the first episode, focusing on a Peach Fuzz copycat, which is, like, what a crazy idea for an episode. Played by David Dastmalchian, by the way, easily one of the best guests the show has ever seen. Check out that video if you want to hear me talk about some of the folks that the creep is going after in season 3, some of the setups that we're getting in that episode, in that season, I should say. Some of those episodes sound wild, and also a theory I have regarding one of the episodes connecting to a previous episode in the series. So that's a fun one. Give it a watch. Next up, I did a review on Insidious Out of the Further. This is a movie that I've really been excited for all year. It's a fresh take and concept on the Insidious franchise, which it's a series that just means so much to me. One of my first horror movies that I got to see at the theater was the original Insidious. I saw that jump scare when it was in theaters for the very first time. Didn't have it spoiled. I don't even think I saw a trailer for Insidious before I went and saw it for the first time, which is so great and so weird considering what I do now, which is literally like analyzing trailers and looking at every little detail of something. I know basically everything about a movie before I go into it now, and being able to go and see Insidious back in 2010, that was just, it's an experience I'll never forget. You know, all of my friends just terrified the entire time. It was a very, very memorable childhood experience, and I'm very grateful for it. The Insidious franchise, it's been a series that I've just been a fan of for the longest time, and I had a lot of thoughts about Out of the Further, some good, some bad. I'm somewhere in the middle on the film, but overall, check out my review. I think as an Insidious fan, I would still totally recommend it, and it does go to some really interesting places. Finally, I did a video addressing some of the Scream 8 rumors that have been going around for a while now. I was really waiting until I had an opportunity to talk about just something different. I don't know. I just feel like everyone who talks about Scream rumors, it's always the same thing. It's just, here's the rumors, that's it. That's so boring to me. I like to throw a little bit of spice or something else in there, something else to think about. Even if it's something that, you know, people have left me comments and said that you're an idiot for thinking that, whatever. At least I gave you something else rather than just, here are the rumors, and that's it. Like a lot of the other channels on YouTube. I don't know, man. Trying to make my videos a little more interesting, a little more than just, here's exactly the same thing you can just find on the internet somewhere else. So gave a little insight into what I think is going on with these rumors, why I believe some of them, why some of them make sense to me, and why I think things are going to be changing now due to some pretty unfortunate events from this past weekend. I do want to say a major, just major in memoriam, my condolences, rest in peace to the great Hayden Panettiere, which is such a horrible loss. It really sucks that we lost her, especially so young. It's just a major tragedy and really heartbreaking as not only a horror fan, but as somebody who has heard nothing but good things about Hayden over the years. I think that was one of the many reasons I wanted to see her be more front and center in this series, was not only because I love Kirby Reed as a character, but Hayden, I've just heard nothing but good stories about her from behind the scenes stuff. We're seeing more and more things come out now about Hayden, that nothing but positivity, of course. I truly just feel awful for friends and family, people around her, whatever. It's just, it's a horrible loss. Getting into our first big update here that I have not talked about on the page quite yet. We have an update on Halloween the game, a good update this time. Now, on the last podcast episode, we talked about how in Australia and in New Zealand, the game was banned not because it features a scary boogeyman, not because there's murder and vicious blood and guts, but because there is a controlled substance, which is, of course, the marijuana. That is so unbelievably frustrating. Why in this day and age are we okay with murder but not smoking a little pot when it has become more and more illegal all around the world? That is so frustrating. I don't care. I'm pro pot. If that offends you, that sucks. Murder's worse. I think if we can't all agree on that, I don't know what to tell you. Truthfully, I don't know what to tell you. That's crazy. We should all be able to agree on that. There's some things we should argue about, and it's good to have an argument about, you know? But that's one thing where it's like, dude, murder is worse. Come on, that's crazy. But anyways, the one thing has been reversed, which does have me excited about Halloween the game. New Zealand has come around and said, fuck it. Okay, we're going to sell this thing because it's awesome. It's probably going to be awesome, and I can't wait to play it early September, coming up real soon here, by the way. But Halloween the game has actually posted on their socials a little update on all of this, saying, New Zealand sales, you can't kill the boogeyman. We are extremely thrilled to announce that after receiving additional guidance from the OFLC, Office of Film and Literature classification in New Zealand, Halloween the game will be available for sale digitally in the territory. We cannot thank the OFLC, the fans, and the gaming community enough for their support and patience, and cannot wait for New Zealanders to enjoy the game. Now, New Zealand fucking rocks. Can I just say that? I don't know if I have any New Zealand fans from here, but New Zealand seems like the coolest country ever, and just a lot of great people there. So much love to New Zealand. I knew I could trust you guys. I knew this would get reversed. I knew New Zealand was cool. I knew New Zealand was chill like that, so I knew this was coming from them. Australia also pretty damn cool, though, so I'm hoping that happens there, too. I've just heard nothing but good things about Australia and New Zealand, if I'm being honest, except you guys got some crazy whack-ass animals. What is going on with the kangaroos drowning people and spiders the size of a newborn child? That's crazy. Outside of that, though, I fuck with you, Australian and New Zealand. But we do have another very exciting update regarding Halloween the game. We have a brand new comic book that is going to be sort of taking us back to 1978, but in a brand new way. Now, I think it would just be so easy to retell the John Carpenter classic, but they're specifically telling a brand new story, kind of like an alternate universe version of the original Halloween, taking place in 1978 with a, again, brand new story. Whereabouts, characters, whatever, and that has me so excited. That's like my dream Halloween movie project. Because if you look back on the rest of the franchise, we've almost always gotten like a Halloween movie that takes place during the year or time period that said film came out. You know, Halloween 4 you can almost look at as like the 10-year anniversary film. H2O is literally the 20th year anniversary, right? The Rob Zombie movies are sort of your 30-year. And then you get, of course, to the David Gordon Green era. That's 40. We even got an official synopsis of the comic that reads, on the night before Halloween 1978, where Michael Myers orchestrates a brutal escape from Smith's Grove Sanitarium, leaving a trail of bodies in his wake. As Dr. Loomis realizes pure evil is loose, Michael begins his relentless journey home toward Haddonfield, slaughtering anyone unfortunate enough to cross his path. Now, of course, that sounds like a loose plot description of the original film, but it was said specifically that this is going to be a brand new series of events following all different kinds of characters encountering Michael. Malika Akkad even said, rather than just reenact or adapt the story of the original film into a comic book, we wanted to explore the 5 new characters from the game and create new suspense-filled stories with Michael Myers. We wanted the comic to be able to stand on its own, so we put a lot of time and care into choosing the creative team, making sure that we were getting top-tier artists and writers to bring the story to life. The first issue drops on November 4th, but there is a big thing to be said with all of this that may actually end up being an update for whatever the next movie is going to be. Let's say this comic becomes kind of popular. I mean, it's a comic, it's not gonna get as popular as something like a movie or a video game. But, you know, let's say there's a little bit of traction with this thing. It's a real popular story amongst the fan base. Maybe that's what we end up getting for whatever the next movie could be. To me, that's my biggest issue with a lot of the sequels in this series. It just feels like Halloween, at least for me, is something that is so stuck in the 70s. And I don't mean that in a bad way. I think that's kind of a positive thing, actually. That original movie is just, it's so iconic, and I really like a lot of the sequels. I think maybe most people walk away from the sequels and they're like, whatever, but a lot of those sequels are underrated. I've seen them all a couple of times now. Some of them are trying to emulate that same vibe and feel as the original film. And I say best way to do that is set another story in the 70s, dude. Like, just do this alternate version of the original film, you know? Like, that to me would be so cool. Set up brand new characters in the late 70s who just happen to come into Michael's path, you know, and what happens from there. Laurie Strode doesn't exist. Here are brand new characters, right? Because I like Laurie Strode because she's played by, you know, Jamie Lee Curtis. And we have seen plenty of stories now with that character. And however you feel about those stories, I just want to explore new characters going up against Michael Myers. Who else is out there that could have been there in Haddonfield on that fateful night in 1978? That's what I would be excited to see in movie form. It's so cool that we're getting a comic about this now. I really hope maybe at some point this gets adapted into whatever the next feature is that is rumored to be happening over at Miramax. So fingers crossed, Malik Akkad is hoping to do this, kind of maybe take elements of this story and put them to the screen at some point. There's a brand new trailer for an original horror movie going around right now that everybody is talking about. And I believe it deserves all that praise and love and talk, because Family looks insane. And I already know if you're Vin Diesel right now, this is going to be your favorite movie of the year. But if you're not Vin Diesel, let me tell you a little bit about the film and why this trailer is catching so many eyes. So the plot description reads, a 10-year-old girl begins to believe her parents, played by Ruth Wilson and Ben Chaplin, by the way, great actors right there, are trying to kill her. Convinced a sinister spirit is to blame, she spirals into a haunting fantasy world that mirrors her deepest fears. You might come away from that plot description and be like, seen that movie before, kind of sounds like Cobweb, especially from 2023. Dude, watch the trailer for this. There is some creepy ass imagery in here, shit that is still sticking with me. One of the biggest things for me is they have a dog, this family, and it like starts barking at nothing, runs behind a tree and seemingly disappears, vanishes into thin air. Like it runs from one side of the tree and you think it's gonna come out the other side and it's just gone and all the barking stops. And the little girl's like, where did the dog go? Toto? There's something so chilling about that. Like there's nothing in that particular sequence that is like outwardly in your face, big scary monster with boils and blood or whatever. But there's just something about how unnatural that is so upsetting to me. And it's also a fucking dog. I don't want anything bad to happen to the dog. Come on now. Now we do see the dog again, so I think he's okay, but he's standing up on 2 feet and he looks extremely tall. And it's another terrifying image from this trailer.
Your parents love you.
I don't feel like it's like outwardly like, oh, making me jump or scared or whatever. It's just like gives me a creepy bad vibe, which I love. Like I said earlier, it reminds me a lot of another movie that I've already seen. Another movie, by the way, that I would say is crazy underrated if you haven't heard of it, haven't seen it. Cobweb from 2023. Whew. Oh, baby. Criminally underrated film that I really enjoyed and sadly did not get enough love. It had poor timing for the release, which was like middle of July, which that movie, if you've seen it, you know it's such an October, fall, pumpkin feeling movie, you know? It's that kind of vibe. This movie's kind of given me something similar to that. Same energy here with Family, which is releasing straight to VOD and digital on September 25th. I really recommend checking this one out. This might be a little hidden gem from this year, and I'm so down. I guess it was a bit of excitement from South by Southwest when it premiered 2 years ago there, and now it's finally getting a release. So check this one out on VOD. It is also Benjamin Finkel's feature. Finkel is his last name. I didn't get that K in there. Finkel. This is his feature debut. Check out this trailer, by the way. So when I was a young little squirt, one of the games I loved to play was God of War. God of War 3 was like 8-year-old Jake's favorite video game ever. Now we're hearing that Dave Bautista is going to be officially slipping into the role after Ryan Hurst, who was going to play Kratos in the God of War series, was sadly very seriously hurt on set, which is truly devastating. I can't even imagine what he's feeling right now, but much love to Ryan, by the way. That really does suck. Dave Bautista, though, I think that he's a very good choice to play Kratos. I personally, out of all the wrestlers turned actors, and I don't know if this is a hot take or not, love John Cena, love him, but Dave Bautista is definitely my favorite. And the reason I say that is because Dave is very versatile. Like, I've seen him in different kinds of roles where he's worked, and he's almost always great. I mean, I've almost never seen something from him where I don't feel like he works or adds something to the picture. So I've seen him do drama, I've seen him do comedy, and, you know, Guardians of the Galaxy, that's basically a comedy. He's great. He's one of the best parts of, I think, of that whole series. And I really just, I'm excited for this role for him because I just think he's perfect for it. I think he can do Kratos, who, again, is not silly at all, but does have a little bit of that Drax energy from Guardians of the Galaxy, where he is very stoic, very calm, doesn't say a whole lot, but only says what he means to say kind of vibes. Bringing some of that Drax energy and just transforming it a little bit, that's essentially Kratos, right? So I really could see, I can really see this casting decision working out, and it makes a lot of sense, in my opinion. I'm really excited to see where this goes. Callum Vincent is also playing young Atreus, which if you played some of the later God of War games, you may know who that is. You may know who that really is, by the way, in a certain other type of mythology, which is cool. Nice little twist at the end of that 2018 game. Callum Vincent, though, however, is we're going to be seeing him first in the Crystal Lake series dropping on October 15th of this year. He's playing little baby Jason. So definitely excited to see him play Atreus here, which is cool. Hopefully he's got the bow and arrow and everything. That'll be dope. But I'm definitely excited for this. I'm very sad about Ryan Hurst, and just much love to him. It's just such a shame, dude. You get a big role like this and then you get hurt, you know? It's a sad situation, sad circumstances, but I do think that Dave Bautista is going to carry the torch well. So anyone who has watched this page probably knows that Obsession is easily my favorite horror film of the year. It is a movie that is so right up my alley in terms of being in your face, scary, having a little bit of a deeper message, and just horror that has a tragic romance at its core tends to be my favorite. David Cronenberg's The Fly is like one of my all-time favorite horror movies. Before I saw Obsession, that was a movie that I would always say, dude, that one's so good. And a big part of that is not just the special effects, the tragic ending, whatever. I just love a good romance at the core of your horror film that, again, ends in tragedy. I'm a sucker for that storyline, and Obsession, my God, it is that to a T. Maybe even done better than Mr. Cronenberg. No offense, but Curry Barker, he's the new kid on the block, baby. And a big part of Obsession's success, which is no surprise to anybody, is Indy Navarrette's performance. I even said in my very early review of the film, by the way, not to brag too much, that Indy Navarrette was going to be a breakout star. There is no doubt about that. And now we're seeing some of those repercussions, positive repercussions, by the way. Sometimes that word has a little bit of a negative space to it. These are some good consequences, because let me tell you, she's about to play 2 very exciting roles in the future here. Now, the big one, which I don't know anything about the X-Men, and I'm not going to pretend like I do. I had to Google search who this character was. But Indy Navarrette is going to be playing Rogue in the X-Men. Like, I think Sean Chandler did a video about this saying he doesn't like this casting decision. Again, I don't know much about Rogue. I just had the Google searcher, and apparently her ability is to absorb the memories. She can absorb memories, physical skills, personality traits, and superpowers of like any other organic being with skin-to-skin contact. So she's basically like a Ditto from Pokemon. I just saw some pictures of Rogue or whatever. I think she can totally pull this off, personally. I'm excited for it. I'm definitely hyped to see it. Let me know your thoughts if you're somebody who knows a little more about the X-Men down in the comments below. I'm just, honestly, more than anything, I'm just happy INDE NAVARRETTE is going to get a bigger paycheck than $20,000, which is all she was paid for Obsession, sadly. Now, bringing it back to horror, INDE NAVARRETTE is still hanging out in the genre for now. This is probably the project of hers I'm a little more excited for. She's going to be in a brand new survival horror thriller called Vertigo, and if you're a Final Destination 3 fan like how I am, you're gonna want to perk your ears up. Vertigo follows a group of reckless teenagers who convince a young park worker to sneak them onto a roller coaster before its debut opening. However, a system failure traps them hundreds of feet in the air, forcing them to fight for survival as buried traumas and hidden tensions erupt into chaos. So it's literally the opening scene of Final Destination 3, but across an entire film. That's awesome. Yes. yes. That is so cool. It's kind of interesting that Capstone and T-Shop are working on this one, who of course produced the film Fall. We have Fall 2 coming out later this year, and this plot description sounds very similar to Fall. It's a survival thriller where characters are trapped somewhere and they have to get out, essentially. I'm really excited to see her lead this project. I will be there day one for anything she does moving forward. Now, it's not too often that my audience here asks me to cover an original horror film. I'm always trying to cover more original stuff on the page, but it seems like, you know, folks here on YouTube are more interested in the franchise stuff. But this is a movie that, interestingly enough, more people are hoping I cover. So Buddy is a film I will, of course, be talking about next week. That has me really excited that there is some excitement in the community for this one, especially considering that it's coming from writer-director Casper Kelly, a guy that I have been a huge fan of for a very long time now, ever since I saw Too Many Cooks the morning after it premiered on Adult Swim in the middle of the night.
Too many cooks.
If you haven't seen Too Many Cooks, if you don't know what that is, please stop this podcast and go watch it. It's like the best 11 minutes of your life. Casper Kelly, also the man behind The Fireplace, which is this horror film that was produced by Adult Swim that's masked as their Yule log, essentially. Like, it literally starts off as just, it's a fireplace. That's it. And some happy music is playing, but then some other characters come into this room with a fireplace and some crazy shit ensues.
Hi, can I help you?
It's just a very fun little movie that has such a cool little, I don't want to call it a gimmick, because again, that's a negative word, but it's a little gimmicky how we get into this story, but it's just a good idea for a movie, man. I really loved what it was able to bring to the table. You would think a Yule log wouldn't be able to get so emotional and also so brutal, but it does. Casper Kelly, probably best known in the horror space, however, or at least on this channel, for his VHS segment, of course, Fun Size, which was one of the most like notable shorts, I would say, from VHS Halloween. It really stands out in that one, I think, because it is so wacky and silly and goofy. It's probably like the most comedy VHS short we've ever gotten. Like, yes, it has horror elements, but dude, that is a comedy through and through. I mean, it is people getting ripped up, turned into candy in ridiculous ways. It's very silly, and I think it really stands out from the VHS catalog for that reason. I know some people don't like when VHS gets a little wackier, but at least in my opinion, I think they've always been a little silly at heart. You know, this franchise has always had a little touch of that camp, even since the beginning. So I don't think it's too out of the box for them to go full on camp for a single segment, which by the way is followed up by the scariest segment in VHS with Kid Prince, but that's a different director, that's a different conversation. Buddy, however, is keeping that theme of Casper Kelly's specific brand of horror comedy alive. It's that kind of children's nostalgic horror, which does feel a little like, man, we've done a lot of movies with this recently and they're kind of all the same. Five Nights at Freddy's is definitely like bottom of the barrel, I think, when it comes to that, but I think this is going to stand out and be something a little different than what we would expect from the genre.
The show with the orange unicorn.
The plot synopsis for Buddy explains that a group of children spend their days singing, dancing, and learning life lessons inside the colorful world of It's Buddy. Hosted by a bright orange unicorn named Buddy, who is voiced by Keegan-Michael Key, by the way.
You done messed up, Aaron!
Everything begins to fall apart when one of the children refuses to play along, and Buddy isn't particularly happy about it. Now, in the brand new teaser that came out this past week, we learned that there's a missing kids hotline We're trying to figure out where these kids went, and I think they're being abducted by Buddy based on specifically on a single shot in this trailer where we actually see a kid getting chased through a school by the orange unicorn.
After the tone, and we will get back to you.
There's even a number that you can text, and we're actually going to try texting that literally right now. The number to text Buddy is 571-642-8339. I'm going to say, what should I say? Hey, Buddy. I'll let you guys know on the next podcast if Buddy messages me anything crazy, but for now, we do have one other big update regarding the film, which drops next week on August 28th, so by the time this publicly releases this episode, it'll be the Monday of the week it releases. So I'm definitely excited for Buddy. Can't wait for this one. We do have one more update coming from IGN specifically, though, that Buddy is actually being turned into a Game Boy Color game. It just looks like a classic old school game. It looks fun and, you know, kid friendly, but then there's a few little flashes of some blood and guts. We get to see Buddy with an axe. Another reason to be excited for Buddy outside of the crazy plot description is the fact that it stars Kristen Milioti, whose name I hope I'm pronouncing right. She is so good on The Penguin. Oh my God. Delaney Quinn, Topher Grace, Michael Shannon, and Patton Oswalt. I mean, that is a stacked cast. Easily the most stacked I think Casper Kelly has ever had for one of his movies. So really excited for Buddy dropping on August 28th. Will you be playing the Game Boy Color game? Let me know down in the comments. So I've been a little busy bee, and I've been missing out on a few different movies that are in theaters now, but I'm gonna try to see the film It Ends at some point very soon. It's in theaters this weekend. I don't know how much longer it's staying in there.
This is not real life anymore.
Still gotta see Camp Miasma. Two movies I'm very excited for. Got to sit down and watch them at some point. But the director of It Ends, specifically Alex Ullum, is directing a brand new movie with Neon, titled 4x4 The Event. The plot description for the film reads that it follows 8 contestants as they enter an illegal sensory assault live stream where they must kill or be killed using only what they can order online. It sounds very much so like The Long Walk, Hunger Games, Battle Royale, these kind of movies where it's like just a fight to the death. I'm all about that. That sounds like a lot of fun. And it seems like it has like this more internet theme to it, which is cool. Maybe hopefully makes it stand out a little more among some of the other movies just like it. I think whenever you're working in like a familiar territory like that, you got to find your like way to stand out, your way to be that like different thing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's this, but with that. Right? You got to have that but in there. You can't just make another movie that's exactly the same thing. So I think this movie's answering that question so far. It seems to be a little more of a commentary on like maybe some of the shit that you can just easily get from the internet at the click of a button. And maybe that's a little fucked up. You know, maybe that's the feelings we're gonna...
That hit the building.
That hit the building?
That hit the next apartment building.
Holy shit, I just got that on recording, dude. Well...
Dude, I just saw it hit that apartment over there.
There's a crazy lightning storm happening. I just felt the whole building shake when that happened. It definitely picked that up on the mic too. Oh my God. I wish I could show y'all what's going on outside. It's just thunder and lightning, and we're recording a podcast about scary stuff. Hell yes. So let me know your thoughts on both 4x4 The Event if you're excited for this. Did you see It Ends? What did you think of it? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Did you miss Scary Movie when it dropped in theaters earlier on this year? Well, no worries. You'll be able to see it on streaming over on Paramount Plus on September 3rd when it finally arrives there. Now, I had a little more of a positive review when I first saw this thing. I was not going into it expecting much, if I'm being honest. I really judge these films based off of like how many jokes actually work versus how many of them don't. And you know, that the original 2 movies I think are up there for me, at least because they land more than they don't. But a lot of people were really disappointed with this entry because like, yeah, some of the jokes are cringe and don't work. But like, at least for me, I go back to that original film and it's like, yeah, some of these jokes also do not work and are total cringe. So I don't know. For me, at least, this is exactly what I expected from a new Scary Movie film. Is it bad? Yeah, it's bad taste. Did I still enjoy it? Kinda. I still had a pretty good time with it. Again, if you're going into this expecting anything better than what this series has offered up in the past, I feel like you're just shooting yourself in the foot. But it's fun, has some nice commentary on modern horror movies, and I think even the killer reveal executed a better meta horror commentary about its own franchise rather than the most recent Scream entry. So that's worth noting. that's something worth watching in my humble opinion. If you haven't seen it yet, check out Scary Movie on Paramount Plus on September 3rd. Give it a watch. If you were hoping for more Infinite Rooms after we got Backrooms this past May, well, guess what? There is a brand new I guess call it a new short film in the Backrooms universe called Backrooms Everything Must Go on YouTube right now. Now, the film was actually re-released this past summer after it ran its course in theaters, and it was re-released as Backrooms Everything Must Go edition that after the credits rolled, we got this brand new short, which it essentially just kind of gives us another little found footage short film in universe that connects to the events of the film. There's two really interesting things that I liked about Everything Must Go after I watched it. It almost feels like there's a little bit of this like AI commentary in there. There's specifically a section towards the beginning where they're talking about finding all of these different signs from Captain Clark's Ottoman Empire or whatever, you know, the furniture store from the movie. And they're finding all these different signs that are like replicated, and they're like, they have the same smudges and shit from like what would possibly be an original sign from a real place. And I don't know, it just kind of comes off a little bit as like commentary on AI image generation, where it's like it's stealing something that's actually real and making it into this like kind of fake bullshit. I don't know if this was something intended from the get-go, but it feels like that AI commentary has kind of latched itself onto Backrooms in a way, considering that it like generates things from real life, but wrong. You know, it's almost real life, but not quite. It just kind of elicits the same emotions as like how I feel about AI, for instance. I see an AI generated video and it's like uncanny valley. There's just something wrong about it. It's trying to be real, but it's just not quite that. It just doesn't have a soul. I've yet to see anything made by AI that actually felt like it could elicit emotions. It could be something grounded or down to earth or have some sort of artistic style. It all looks it all looks the same, and it all looks like shit. Backrooms, I feel, is kind of globbed on that subtext. And this little short film kind of has a bit of that. You also get a nice little jump scare from giant pirate Captain Clark at the end, which is nice. So it's a fun little 16 minutes. Give it a watch. You know, if you like the movie, I think you'll enjoy this. My favorite part of the film was actually that whole little interlude in the middle with the found footage chase. I just loved that. It echoed Blair Witch in all the best ways, had some great sound design. I fell in love with the Backrooms because of those original found footage videos, and to kind of have a new one of those smack dab in the middle of this film. And honestly, it being the best one, at least the one that got my heart pumping the most, it's awesome. This one's good though too, very solid watch. And if you just want to see something that kind of furthers the Backrooms mythos a little bit, I think this does that. I think this does this really well. I don't think it really extends the film all too much. You know, you don't really need this in the movie. But, you know, take it or leave it. It's fun. It's fun for what it is. Give it a watch, though. It's over on Kane's YouTube channel now. Let me know your thoughts about it. A brand new trailer for HELLRAISER Revival has released, and, like, the more I see of this game, the more excited I get. The trailer specifically shows off more of the fighting and action within the game, just more of the enemies you get to battle, and it just looks brutal as hell. It even showcases some of the new weapons you can get if you specifically pre-order the deluxe edition of the game. I'm just so excited for it when it finally drops on October 8th. It looks like a Resident Evil game in the HELLRAISER universe. This is a game tailor-made for me. I'm going to have so much fun playing it. I cannot stress that enough. But my God, watch this trailer if you want to see some of the other crazy weapons. You get like a mace that kind of reminds me of Pinhead. It's a bunch of like nails in the mace, which is cool. It kind of looks like Pinhead a little bit. A shotgun that's like a puzzle box shotgun, crazy looking handgun. I don't know. This looks like so much fun. Bring it on, man. HELLRAISER Revival. I'm excited for Halloween, the game. Don't get me wrong, but HELLRAISER Revival, this is my cup of tea. I am begging you to look into River, coming from Shudder. So not only does the cast for this movie totally rock, Jane Levy and Jessica Roth star in this bad boy, but on top of all of that, it is based on a terrifying short film made by the same director here. It's 2018's In Sound We Live Forever. Dude, if you haven't seen this short film, put this thing on. I am like goosebumps all over my body. I just watched it before recording this segment of today's podcast. Oh my God. I mean, I am so high on this short right now. And it's so simple. It's so simple in the way that it's done, and yet it's so effective. The sound design is immaculate. It's all about the sound, baby. It's all about carrying that through, which is something that really gets underneath my skin. Dude, give this a watch. That's better than most of the slasher films I've seen lately. I mean, oh my God, I can't wait to see that turned into a full feature. This is gonna be great. Now, the short follows a couple who's making out in the middle of nowhere, basically in a field somewhere, when they're attacked by a killer. Now, you don't actually see this initial action happen, but trust me, it will get underneath your skin because that sound design is crisp. The film, however, like I was saying, stars Jane Levy and Jessica Roth playing sisters who are estranged. They meet up with their younger brother, who is played by Max Matten, but they go to scatter their father's ashes alongside a remote river. They're on a boat, of course, and their boat gets stranded in the middle of a river where they're stalked by a killer played by Dane DeLiegro. He, of course, played the Predator in Prey, which is pretty damn cool, as well as Chauncey from Imaginary, everyone's favorite Blumhouse movie. Yes! I'm totally kidding, but... Definitely excited to see this, see where this whole thing ends up going. I am very confident in this project just based on the short film, and I think you will be too after seeing it.
He's got a knife!
David F. Sandberg is kind of like the Curry Barker before Curry Barker was Curry Barker. David went viral online for his short film Lights Out, which he turned into a feature film. I actually like the short film better than the movie. Not to say that the movie's bad. We're getting a sequel to it, which is really cool. But then Sandberg went on to make the best Conjuring film, which is, of course, Annabelle Creation. So damn good. That's my #1, baby. And I also really enjoyed his not so loved and a little more divisive, certainly polarizing Until Dawn film. We don't talk about his Shazam movies, but we will talk about his upcoming psychological horror film, Mommy's Home, coming from Lionsgate. Now, we have a Daddy's Home. We have an Other Mommy coming up, but we don't have a Mommy's Home. And thankfully, David F. Sandberg is filling that void that needs to be filled. Now, I already love the personnel. It's the plot description, however, that has totally won me over. When a 24-year-old woman is unfrozen decades later, her son, now a father himself, faces a terrifyingly unhinged family life. Ooh, that sounds cool. It's like the horrors of being frozen and then being unfrozen, what that does to you. That's really interesting, dude. So it's kind of sci-fi, it's kind of horror. I am all about this. We're getting a lot of parental horrors lately, which I think is really cool. Hopefully something that doesn't dive into the same like grief territory that I feel like a lot of people are just kind of sick of after so many movies have done kind of that same thing that Hereditary did all the way back in 2018, handled grief in the same way. There's nothing wrong with grief, you know, a grief-focused horror movie. It's an emotion I think we all feel. But I just feel like a lot of movies did it in the same approach as Hereditary. Gotta give a big shout out, however, to the Philippo brothers who did take that Hereditary approach and find a new way to do it with their own unique style. So you gotta love them. Gotta love those dudes. A lot of other movies, though, that are kind of just Hereditary 2.0 and are lesser than. So I think that this is cool that we're kind of shifting towards like a little more of parental horror, like horrors of, you know, things being fucked up with our parents, which is cool. I feel like we haven't gotten like 1,000 movies like this recently. So it's cool that this is a bit of a new trend, and I think we're gonna get a lot of good movies from it. Other Mommy looks insane this October. This sounds like a really cool idea. Even if you're not into the subtext, I mean, just the sci-fi concept there alone has me drawn in. Really cool stuff happening here. Very excited to hear more about this one from Lionsgate and David F. Sandberg. Bruce Campbell is throwing all sorts of things out there regarding the Evil Dead franchise lately, and today's update is especially sad and disappointing, but also makes sense. Last time we talked about Bruce on the page was the last podcast we did. He specifically said he wanted Evil Dead to get kind of campy and silly again, and not to get too grim like the last one, and I just disagree with Bruce on that personally. I like that Evil Dead has kind of gone to this place where it's like any director who approaches it can kind of throw their own personality at it. Personally, that's how I feel about every single entry in the Evil Dead series. Even Evil Dead 2, that jump it makes to Army of Darkness. There is a major tonal shift there in terms of personality and things both of those films are trying to accomplish. Are they both campy from a distance? Yes. But Evil Dead 2, I would argue, is still like horror comedy territory, where Army of Darkness is just full-on slapstick comedy, action adventure. They're totally separate movies in my mind. It's kind of the same comparison when you look at Evil Dead Burn and Evil Dead 2013. 2016. Very similar movies, but also just totally different in terms of personality, I think, when you really get up close to them. But today's update is especially sad, but like I said, makes sense. Bruce Campbell has pretty much confirmed that Ash is done. He is probably never going to play Ash Williams again, whether that be on screen or voicing the character through some sort of animated series. That was something that was rumored for a long time, especially after Ash vs. Evil Dead got canceled. There was these rumors of some sort of Evil Dead animated series. I just don't think that's happening at this point, which is a shame. I can't lie, as much as I am happy with the state of the Evil Dead franchise, this does make me really sad, dude. I mean, Ash is what kicked this whole thing off. I think that original trilogy is so damn good. The show is fantastic. There's not a whole lot of horror television shows that are like actually worth your time that are based off of IP. Hannibal, which I'm currently going through over on Patreon, really good so far, really enjoying that. And honestly, I would say this one. I would say Ash vs. Evil Dead and Hannibal are the only two I've seen so far that are like must watches. Gotta get on those things. So I don't know, man. It really is a shame. I think everything that Bruce Campbell does is just so damn good. I really love him as an actor. He brings a lot to every project he's been a part of. And I think a lot of this announcement, a lot of this interview comes from the fact that he did have a pretty severe cancer diagnosis recently. Just want to put that positivity into the world for Bruce. I love him so much. Got to meet him a few years ago, and he was just the kindest gentleman. He presented Evil Dead Rise to a crowd that was at Horror Hound back in 2023. I got to see the movie early with Bruce Campbell. It was just so cool. Bruce was the nicest dude. He gave me a bag full of candy, which had a little mini cheese grater in it. I still have it on the set somewhere. I don't know if it's out and about, but it's over there somewhere, man. I'll always keep the cheese grater you gave me, Bruce, and I'm just wishing you nothing but good health, love, and luck. I would love to see Ash again, but more than anything, I just want Bruce Campbell to get his health in order, man. Just much love to you, dude. Much love. I can't believe we're just reporting on this now, but It Welcome to Derry has been officially greenlit for a second season. Why they waited so long, I have no idea. Of course, season 2 was going to happen, though. This wasn't like up in the air, some miraculous thing that happened. Welcome to Derry season 1 was, of course, a huge hit over on HBO Max, and that makes sense, right? The original It movie, which is technically not the original It movie, right? It 2017, it is the most highest grossing horror film of all time. It was a major hit. I think it's turned Pennywise into one of the most recognizable horror villains of the modern era. We have a lot of clowns that are super recognizable, which I think is interesting. This whole generation, last 15 years of horror, we're obsessed with clowns, man. The TV show, in my opinion, is probably the best thing that's come out of the Andy Muschietti era of It. Honestly, I really liked season 1 more than both of the movies, and maybe that's a hot take, but I just feel like the show was able to explore more about It as a character. And that kind of like diving a little more into his lore, it got weird. It took some risks. It was a little more ambitious. It 2017, I don't think it's a bad movie by any means. I really enjoy it, but there are times where it feels a little cookie cutter, a little bit like an expected blockbuster horror movie of the 2010s. And I guess the biggest thing about it is it's like, especially after Stranger Things has become like shoved down your throat with how much Netflix has put out Stranger Things memorabilia, season 5, which was like, whatever, these spin-off shows. It's kind of like you see kids on bikes and you're just like, anything like this is Stranger Things to me. So it's hard to watch in 2017 and just not think about, not elicit those same emotions, right? It's still a good movie. I just think it's very inspired by Stranger Things, which was the craze at that time, right? 2016, just a year before Stranger Things season 1 became like the biggest Netflix show ever. And then we got It. So of course It is now coming to streaming, which does kind of make sense. Right at the tail end of Stranger Things, here we have the first season of Welcome to Derry. And honestly, I think that Welcome to Derry is doing Stranger Things again, but maybe better. I actually think they're taking some risks where that show didn't want to. And that again is why I just will champion Welcome to Derry for, yes, being a little inspired by the Netflix series, but finding its own voice and doing some different things that, again, Stranger Things season 5 didn't even fucking dare to do. They wanted to tease it. They wanted to throw it up in the air that we're going to kill one of your favorite characters, but they didn't actually have the balls to do it. Now, Pennywise, however, he's got a big sack hanging underneath him. Who knew those red balloons were actually testicles? I didn't. I loved It Welcome to Derry season 1, and I'm really excited for season 2. That's taking us all the way back to the Great Depression. 27 years, again, into the past. We're going back 27 years every single season until we hit the early 1900s, which is crazy. But I'm really excited for this season. It's not going to be all fun, bright, suburban life like how we saw in this previous season, which took place in the 1960s. Obviously, we dealt with some of the problems at that time. If it was race relations, the military was a very big aspect to the show, which I kind of wasn't expecting, but I liked it. It was cool. It was cool place to take it. I'm also really excited to see the Bradley gang being a big part of this season. The big climactic moment previous season was when the black spot burnt down. Now it's going to be some sort of shootout with gang members, which is like, whoa, that's crazy. It's kind of a different way to take it. Definitely excited to see how this all plays out in season 2. Andy Muschietti, I wish you nothing but luck, man. I'm really excited to see where this goes. I'm also excited to see if its whole thing about, being able to change the future in the past. I'm wondering if we go there. Are we going to actually get like an It Chapter 3 at some point where Pennywise is still alive beyond the events of Chapter 2? Personally, I wouldn't be upset with that because I just didn't love the ending of It Chapter 2. Bullying Pennywise to death. Yes, it feels Stephen King, but the way that they visually put it to screen just kind of looked a little goofy to me. So if they were to somehow create an It Chapter 3 through this series, I really wouldn't bat an eye just because I didn't love that ending. So bring it on. Let's see what happens. I'm excited to see if it is going to be able to undo the events we thought were concrete. So there's a new Spider movie coming out on October 16th called Crawlers. It is a movie that I will warn you, if you have any even remote arachnophobia, I would skip because my God, this trailer is terrifying. I thought Infested from 2023 was like the spider movie that got underneath my skin the most. That came from Sebastian Vanacek, who just did Evil Dead Burn. That movie fucked me up as somebody who doesn't really like spiders all too much. But this trailer, man, I mean, just the trailer alone really got underneath my skin.
I am safe.
It follows Serena, the manager of an apartment complex where a mysterious death initially appears connected to a viral outbreak. Instead, the building is being overrun by a rapidly multiplying... Words are tough, man. We're getting late into this podcast. Infestation of venomous spiders. Now, it even sounds like Infested, which is kind of weird, but hopefully, they're able to find something special here. Why is there so many spider movies that take place in apartment buildings? It's a really interesting little trend we got going on here in the arachnophobia spider world, but it is what it is. Crawlers also stars Matilda Lutz, who is probably best known by horror fans from the movie Revenge from Coralie Farja, an actually good movie, but she is also in Rings, a not very good movie. Sorry to throw some dirt at Matilda Lutz here. I just watched Rings for the first time. That's how I know this. And I was like, ooh, that was kind of disappointing. A lot of good ideas in that movie, though, I'll admit. Great cast, but not executed very well. But anyways, I am excited for this movie based on the trailer, and I will be seeing it on October 16th because wow, that makes me want to rip my whole skin off and burn my flesh. John Carpenter has been talking a whole bunch of crazy shit this past week through various different interviews. We're hearing that he's working on all sorts of new projects that are being kept secret. And one of them that he was asked about at a fan expo in Chicago the other night was, are we ever going to see a sequel to The Thing? And he specifically said, we're working on it now. Now, in all fairness, I have covered multiple stories on this very page since 2021, where John Carpenter has talked about doing more with The Thing. I think I have a video from 2021 specifically where John Carpenter said at some sort of fan expo thing just like this, that like, yeah, we're gonna do The Thing too. It's coming, don't you worry. And well, now it's 2026 and we still don't have that movie. Nothing is officially happening with The Thing. I would just love to get another good The Thing movie. The prequel film is almost good. Like I think it gets more shit than it deserves, but it's almost good. If it had actual practical effects in it, I think it would be sick as shit, dude. It's nearly there. It's a cool story, but it's just the practical effects, the digital effects, I should say, are yikes. Look very 2011. Let's just say that. But if we were to get an actual The Thing too, that would be awesome. Now, not something that I'm not seeing people talk about regarding The Thing is that Frank Darabont, who fucking killer director, a name that I can't believe doesn't get talked about enough. Frank Darabont was actually supposed to do a sequel to The Thing in the early 2000s. It was going to be set at a Area 51 style desert base where basically they picked up the bodies from the original Thing, keeping that all ambiguous, by the way, as to which one of them was the Thing, bringing it to this Area 51 base, and it fucking escapes again. Now, the cool thing about that concept would have been like, dude, you're in America now. If the thing gets out, as we learned in the original John Carpenter film, like, you're fucked. That'll take over the world in like a couple of months or whatever, and the thing will just assimilate the planet. So I think that kind of like builds on top of the original without ruining the mystique of the thing, because obviously one of the biggest things about the thing is who is the thing. What's Frank Darabont doing? Honestly, like what's he doing right now? Can we get Frank on this project? Because that would just be so cool. He's done a lot of great King adaptations, most famously The Green Mile, The Shawshank Redemption, The Mist. Very versatile. I mean, just those 3 projects alone, all very different from each other. I would love this. Oh, and oh my God, I almost forgot about this, but he, I believe, directed The Blob from 1988, which is another crazy body horror supernatural film from that same era. Hey everybody, Jake from the future here in the editing room. I just wanted to say that Frank Darabont wrote specifically The Blob from 1988. Chuck Russell, rest in peace, was the one to direct the film. Just wanted to throw a little correction out there. I know we got some Chuck Russell fans out there, some Dream Warriors fans, hell yeah. Just wanted to say, absolutely love Frank Darabont's work in The Writer's Room when it comes to that film specifically. Just wanted to clarify before I got actual lead in the comments section. So it's like, dude, Frank Darabont and John Carpenter working on The Thing too. That just sounds like a match made in heaven. I really hope that comes to fruition in some way, shape, or form. That would be dope. But The Thing 2, are we ever going to get it? Is John Carpenter just going to keep teasing it at conventions forever? We'll have to see. Now, before we wrap up today's podcast, I do just want to throw out a little channel update. I've been noticing recently that whenever I do videos on original horror projects, they just don't do as well. The people want to see franchise continuation videos, and I respect it. I get that. So I think this podcast is basically going to be that place for those updates to live and be talked about. And I would, even though I would like to continue making videos on that, I also have to run this channel like it's a business. The goal with videos on the main channel moving forward is doing like longer, more like bigger videos on things. And you'll see kind of what I'm talking about in this following week. I have a few ideas for like just larger videos that I want to post and do, but it just feels the way that YouTube is going in terms of trends. You want to post longer videos, and I'm going to kind of start trying my hand at that this spooky season. And I want to see how it all ultimately wraps up and how it all works. So we're going to try that out this week and maybe the rest of next month. But guys, thank you so much for listening. Let me know in the comments which update from today's video had you the most excited. Please make sure to like this podcast, subscribe, follow us on Spotify, subscribe to our YouTube channels, all that fun stuff. And as always, everybody, don't forget to kill it out there, y'all. Bye-bye.